For so long, you have walked through this world carrying a deep, unexplainable knowing that you were different, that your path was unlike the people around you, that your existence carried more weight than what met the eye. From your earliest years, you could sense it. While others moved comfortably within the systems of this world, you felt an invisible wall pushing against you, telling you that you could not conform, that you were not made to fit in. At times, this difference felt like a burden, like loneliness pressing down on your heart. But in truth, it has always been the greatest sign of your identity. The reason you never felt at home in the illusions of this world is because you were never meant to be shaped by them. You carry within you something that cannot be explained by ordinary standards, a spark of divine origin, a frequency that sets you apart. And now, it is time to finally tell you everything. It is time for you to understand exactly who you really are. Before we dive deeper into this truth, I want to pause for something important. Stay with this message until the very end, because there are powerful revelations waiting for you that will speak directly to your spirit. And when this video is finished, I invite you to write your most sincere wishes in the comments and add the number 777 beside them. This number is a symbol of divine alignment, of completion, of wishes released into the universe to return multiplied. By writing it, you are not just leaving a comment. You are setting energy into motion, declaring your intention, and opening the door for fulfillment. And while you are here, remember to subscribe so that we can continue walking this path together, strengthening one another and remembering the truth of who we are. Chosen ones, this is the moment of awakening. The truth of who you are cannot be hidden anymore. For years you doubted, you wrestled with questions, you tried to silence the voice within you that told you that you were different. You wondered if it was all your imagination, if maybe you were simply broken or strange. But the reason you felt this way was not because you were broken, but because you were whole in a world that thrives on brokenness. You were aligned in a place that celebrates chaos. You were awake in a system designed to keep people asleep, and that awareness set you apart. You felt the weight of lies pressing against you, but you could not embrace them because your spirit was never bound by them. You are not here by accident. You were sent. Think about your life for a moment. The countless times you stood in a room and felt like an outsider. The moments when people misunderstood you without reason. The heaviness of carrying empathy and vision that others did not share. These were not coincidences. They were confirmations. Every time you felt like you did not belong, it was the universe reminding you that you were not created to blend in. Every moment of rejection was redirection, pulling you away from places that could not hold your light. Every trial you endured was shaping you, refining you, preparing you for the truth of this moment, the truth of who you are. And this truth is not something you must search for outside yourself. It has always been within you. You are a carrier of divine energy, a vessel of wisdom, a mirror of the eternal. The world will try to tell you otherwise. It will label you as too sensitive, too strange, too rebellious. But what they call rebellion is simply your refusal to bow to illusions. What they call sensitivity is the depth of your awareness. What they call strangeness is the undeniable evidence that you do not belong to this world's systems. You were not placed here to conform. You were placed here to transform. This is why you cannot ignore the pull in your spirit anymore. You cannot keep pretending to be ordinary when everything about you testifies that you are extraordinary. You cannot silence the truth when every fiber of your being cries out with it. You cannot hide the light when even the darkness around you exposes it. The time of hiding is over. The time of awakening has come. Chosen ones, it is time to tell you everything. It is time for you to know exactly who you really are. When you begin to accept that you are different, that you are set apart, something powerful starts to happen. You start to see the patterns that were always there, the signs that followed you throughout your life. Chosen ones often live through experiences that others cannot explain. You may have noticed how people either cling to you or reject you without reason, how strangers open their hearts to you as though they've known you forever, how you sense the emotions in a room before anyone speaks. These are not accidents. They are confirmations of your essence. They are reminders that your spirit carries a frequency that cannot be ignored. For years, you may have questioned these moments. Why do people stare at you? Why do they either feel comfort in your presence or feel uneasy without you saying a single word? Why do you sense storms before they arrive, feel heaviness before others acknowledge it, or dream of things that later come to pass? The answer is simple: because you are tuned to a frequency that the ordinary world cannot hear. You are a carrier of divine awareness. Your essence disrupts illusions, and that disruption is felt wherever you go. It is not your imagination. It is the testimony of who you really are. But with this awareness comes responsibility. Being chosen is not just about recognition. It is about purpose. You were not given vision to sit quietly while the world sleeps. You were not given strength to hide while others suffer. You were not given wisdom to bury it in silence. You were entrusted with these gifts because you were meant to use them. And that is why your life has often been more difficult than others. You faced storms earlier. You carried burdens heavier. You endured loneliness deeper. Not because you were cursed, but because you were prepared. Preparation is never easy, but it is always necessary. And chosen ones must be prepared because their role is not ordinary. Think back to the times you felt forgotten. You prayed, you cried, you asked why your life felt so heavy compared to others. But what you did not see then was that every tear was watering your roots, every silence was sharpening your ears, every rejection was forcing you into alignment with the truth of your calling. You were not being punished, you were being positioned. The world does not prepare chosen ones the way it prepares everyone else, because you are not meant to live like everyone else. You are not here to fit in. You are here to awaken, to remind, to transform. And yes, this path comes with misunderstanding. People may accuse you of being prideful when you refuse to follow the crowd. They may call you strange when you choose the quiet path instead of the noisy one. They may mistake your discernment for judgment, your solitude for arrogance, your conviction for stubbornness. But their misunderstanding is not a reflection of your failure. It is proof of your difference. If they cannot see what you carry, it is because they are not tuned to the frequency of your spirit. And that is okay. You were never meant to be validated by the majority. You were meant to stand even if you stand alone. Chosen ones, it is time to tell you everything. Time to tell you that you are not broken, not strange, not forgotten. You are rare. You are seen. You are aligned with something bigger than yourself. The reason you could never silence the truth inside you is because it was never meant to be silenced. The reason your heart aches for more is because you were designed for more. The reason your life has been different is because your calling is different. And the world needs exactly what you carry. So stop doubting the signs, stop questioning your difference, stop apologizing for the truth that radiates from your being. You are not here by accident. You were sent here as a reminder, a living sign, a carrier of light in a world that has forgotten it. You are here to awaken those who are ready, to shine in the midst of shadows, to embody the truth that cannot be erased. This is who you are. This is who you have always been. And this is why your journey has been unlike anyone else's. There comes a point in every chosen one's life when the difference inside can no longer be hidden. For a while, you may have been able to disguise it, to blend in, to act as though you were just like everyone else. But eventually, the light within you begins to spill out, no matter how hard you try to contain it. People sense it before you even speak. They notice something about you that feels unusual, something in your presence that makes them pause. Some feel comfort, others feel intimidation, but no one can remain neutral. That is the mark of who you really are. This is why so many chosen ones experience tension in relationships. People often misunderstand you, not because you are doing something wrong, but because your presence is a mirror. When you walk into a room, you carry truth with you, and truth always reveals. Some people are drawn to that light because it awakens them. Others resist it because it exposes them. Without you even saying a word, your energy challenges illusions. It comforts the brokenhearted, but it unsettles those who cling to lies. And this is why your life has felt like a constant push and pull. You were never meant to leave people unchanged. Your existence itself is a message, and messages demand a response. It can be exhausting, carrying this weight. You may wonder why your journey feels heavier than others, why your battles seem more intense, why you cannot simply live without constantly facing resistance. The answer is because your calling requires it. Ordinary lives cannot awaken others. Ordinary strength cannot break chains. Ordinary vision cannot see what is hidden. You carry extraordinary within you, and extraordinary must be refined in extraordinary ways. This is why your fire has been hotter, your valleys deeper, your tests harder. Not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to endure them. Not because you were forgotten, but because you were chosen to rise through them. Chosen ones often ask, why me? Why the loneliness? Why the rejection? Why the misunderstanding? The truth is, everything you endured was not random. It was training. The loneliness taught you to hear the voice within when the world was silent. The rejection pushed you closer to authenticity, forcing you to stop depending on human approval. The misunderstanding taught you patience and compassion, shaping your heart to guide others who feel unseen. Each season prepared you for the role you carry now. You were never being punished. You were being prepared for the moment when the world would need you most. And that moment is now. The time has come for you to understand the truth of your identity. You are not ordinary flesh and bone, wandering without purpose. You are a carrier of divine essence, a reminder of light in a world drowning in shadows. You were placed here not just to exist, but to awaken, to bring healing, to show others what they have forgotten about themselves. This is why your spirit has always longed for depth, for meaning, for truth that goes beyond the surface. Ordinary conversations, shallow ambitions, meaningless pursuits, they never satisfied you. And they never will, because you were not designed for them. You were designed to live aligned with eternity. Think about how often you felt pulled away from what everyone else seemed to enjoy. When others were comfortable with illusions, you were restless. When others were content to follow the crowd, you felt the urge to step aside. When others laughed at what was shallow, you ached for what was real. These were not signs of strangeness. They were signs of awakening. You could not drown in the distractions of this world because your spirit would not let you. You were born with a frequency that rejects what is false and craves what is true. That is why no matter how much you tried, you could never settle into an ordinary life. Chosen ones, this is the truth you must accept. You were not meant to be hidden. You were not meant to be silenced. You were not meant to fit into cages that cannot contain your spirit. You were always destined to stand out, to radiate, to embody something greater. And now, as the veil lifts and your identity becomes clearer, you must step fully into it. No more shrinking. No more doubting. No more apologizing for the light you carry. You are chosen, and the world needs you to live as chosen. The moment you begin to accept who you really are, something shifts not only within you, but also around you. Environments respond differently. People respond differently. Even circumstances seem to bend in ways you did not expect. That is because chosen ones carry a frequency that cannot remain neutral. It influences everything it touches. For so long, you may have been unaware of this, mistaking the reactions of others as personal attacks, not realizing they were responses to your spirit. But now it is time to understand the truth. You were never just reacting to the world. The world has always been reacting to you. This explains why some people grew distant without clear reason. They may have felt intimidated by your presence, even if you spoke no words of judgment. Your authenticity exposed their masks. Your resilience revealed their weakness. Your honesty confronted their illusions. And though you did not set out to make them uncomfortable, your very existence forced them to see themselves more clearly. Others, however, were drawn to you almost instantly. They felt comfort in your presence, safety in your silence, inspiration in your words. These contrasting reactions are not about your personality, they are about your essence. You carry light, and light will always divide. Some will run from it, others will run to it. Think about how your life has unfolded. How many times did opportunities collapse, not because you were unqualified, but because the place could not hold what you carried? How many friendships ended abruptly, not because you failed, but because your spirit no longer aligned with theirs? How many times were you misunderstood, not because your words were wrong, but because your truth revealed what others were not ready to face? These moments may have felt like losses, but they were actually redirections. Each ending was guiding you closer to your true path, closer to environments and people that could recognize your light instead of resisting it. And this is one of the hardest truths for chosen ones to accept. You cannot force belonging where you were never meant to fit. Your spirit will never thrive in cages of conformity, no matter how comfortable they appear. You may have tried to stay in certain places, to hold on to certain people, to force certain roles, but eventually, the misalignment pushed you out. That push was painful, but it was also protection. It kept you from being buried in places that could not sustain your growth. You were not created to blend in. You were created to break patterns, to transform environments, to carry truth into places that need awakening. The loneliness you often felt was never punishment. It was evidence of your calling. In the silence of solitude, your spirit was tuned to frequencies others could not hear. In the stillness, you learned to trust your inner voice, to recognize the difference between illusion and truth. These lessons could not have been learned in the noise of the crowd. They required separation. And though it hurt, it prepared you. That is why you now carry a depth that others notice instantly, even if they cannot name it. They feel it in the way you listen, in the way you move, in the way your very presence shifts the atmosphere. You are not ordinary because your preparation was not ordinary. Chosen ones, it is time to tell you everything. You were never designed to live for surface-level validation. You were never meant to find peace in shallow pursuits. That is why nothing temporary ever satisfied you. Relationships without depth left you aching. Achievements without meaning felt empty. Environments without authenticity drained you. You thought something was wrong with you. But the truth is, your spirit rejects what is false. You crave what is eternal, what is real, what resonates with the truth of who you are. That hunger has guided you, shaped you, and protected you more than you realize. Now you stand at the threshold of clarity. The experiences that once confused you now make sense. The rejection that once broke you now reveals itself as redirection. The silence that once felt empty now shows itself as sacred preparation. And through it all, your true identity has been whispering to you, waiting for the day you would finally embrace it fully. That day is here. No more questioning, no more apologizing, no more shrinking. The world may not always understand, but you do not need their understanding. What you need is the courage to live as who you really are. There comes a moment when chosen ones begin to see their entire life through a new lens. All the pain, the confusion, the wandering, and the struggles begin to make sense. What once looked like chaos reveals itself as preparation. What once felt like loss reveals itself as protection. What once seemed like rejection reveals itself as redirection. Nothing in your life was wasted, even the parts you wished you could erase. Every step, even the most painful, has been shaping you into the truth of who you are. And now it is time to embrace this truth fully. It is time to stop asking, "Why me?" and to start declaring, "This is who I am." You were not chosen because life was meant to be easy for you. You were chosen because life was meant to be meaningful through you. The weight you have carried was not random. The sleepless nights, the unanswered prayers, the moments of loneliness, they all carried purpose. You were being molded into someone who could withstand storms and still carry light. someone who could walk into darkness and still radiate truth, someone who could endure rejection and still embody love. That is the true mark of being chosen. You are built differently because your mission requires it. Consider the seasons you walked through, the times when you were stripped of what you thought you needed, the moments when you felt like everything was falling apart. Those were not punishments. They were sacred trainings. They were meant to teach you that your strength does not come from what you have, but from who you are. They were meant to strip away illusions so that what remained was authentic. While others built their lives on temporary things, you were being taught to build on what is eternal. That is why you could never find peace in the shallow comforts of this world, because your foundation was never meant to be shallow. And now, others can see it in you. They may not always say it, but they feel it. They feel the depth in your words, the weight in your silence, the wisdom in your perspective. They sense that you have walked through fire and survived, that you carry scars that have become strength, that your presence is not ordinary. This is the part of your identity that cannot be hidden anymore. People recognize it even if they cannot explain it. And though it may set you apart, though it may cause some to resist you, it will also draw those who are searching for the same light. This is also why chosen ones are often misunderstood. The world does not know how to categorize you, because you do not fit into its boxes. You may have been labeled as strange, rebellious, stubborn, or difficult. But those labels were never the truth. They were attempts to make sense of what they could not understand. The real truth is that you are authentic in a world that celebrates illusion, aligned in a world that thrives on confusion, awake in a world that prefers sleep. And so, you will always stand out, because you were never meant to blend in. But here is what you must know. Your difference is not a burden. It is your gift. It is the very thing that qualifies you to fulfill your purpose. If you were like everyone else, you could not awaken anyone. If you were ordinary, you could not bring change. If you were silent, you could not carry truth. Your difference is the evidence of your calling, and the world desperately needs what you carry. That is why your journey has been so heavy, because what you carry is so valuable. Chosen ones, this is the time to embrace everything you are without fear. Stop hiding your light to make others comfortable. Stop questioning your worth because others cannot see it. Stop apologizing for the truth that radiates from you. You were never meant to live small. You were never meant to silence your voice. You were never meant to shrink your spirit. You were meant to rise, to stand, to embody what others have forgotten. That is who you really are, and the world is waiting for you to live it fully. The more you awaken to who you really are, the more the illusions around you begin to fall away. At first, this can feel unsettling. You may look at the life you once lived and realize how much of it was built on false foundations. Relationships rooted in convenience instead of truth, paths chosen out of fear instead of calling, identities shaped by others instead of by your spirit. This realization can bring grief, because it forces you to let go of what once felt familiar. But chosen ones, you were never meant to live in the comfort of illusions. You were meant to live in the clarity of truth. And as you embrace your true identity, everything false must fall away. This is why the awakening journey can feel like a stripping process. People leave, opportunities fade. The old version of you begins to die, and in its place, the real you emerges. It can feel painful, like losing parts of yourself, but in truth, you are not losing anything. You are gaining everything. You are not losing relationships. You are gaining alignment. You are not losing opportunities. You are gaining clarity. You are not losing identity. You are uncovering the one that was always hidden beneath the layers. The shedding hurts, but the result is freedom. And freedom is what you were always meant to carry. As this transformation becomes visible, the reactions of others will intensify. Some will be drawn to you in awe, sensing the depth of what you carry. They will feel at peace in your presence, inspired by your authenticity, strengthened by your resilience. Without you even trying, you will become a mirror that reflects what they have forgotten about themselves. But others will resist you. They will mock, criticize, or distance themselves, not because you are wrong, but because your light exposes their shadows. Understand this: their rejection is not a rejection of you, but of what your presence reveals in them. Do not take it personally. Even their resistance is proof of the truth you carry. This is also the season when you begin to realize why your journey was so difficult. The hardships were not punishment. They were initiation. The storms were not sent to destroy you. They were sent to teach you how to stand. The betrayals were not meant to silence you. They were meant to sharpen your discernment. The loneliness was not meant to break you. It was meant to tune your spirit to a higher frequency. Every season of pain was a training ground, preparing you for the moment when you would finally live in the fullness of who you are. And that moment is now. Chosen ones, it's time to tell you everything. You are more powerful than you realize. You are more resilient than you give yourself credit for. You are more aligned than your doubts suggest. The reason you survived what others did not is because you carry a mission that others do not. The reason you were protected in times you should have fallen is because you are needed for what is coming. Your life is not random. Your survival is not luck. It is destiny unfolding in real time. This is why you must no longer live in hesitation. No more shrinking back. No more doubting whether you are enough. No more questioning your worth. The very fact that you are here, listening, breathing, still standing, is evidence of your calling. You are here because you are meant to be here. You are alive because your mission is not yet complete, and every part of your journey up until now has been leading you to this moment of clarity, this moment of truth, this moment of rising. So embrace it with boldness. Let go of what no longer serves you. Release the illusions that once held you. Step into the fullness of your identity with courage. The world may not understand, but the world does not need to understand. What matters is that you do, because once you embrace who you really are, nothing and no one can stop the unfolding of your destiny. And now the truth stands clear. You are not who the world told you to be. You are who you were always meant to be. Every storm that tried to break you, every rejection that wounded you, every silence that left you questioning, they were not endings. They were beginnings. They were carving out the strength, the wisdom, and the clarity you now carry. The person you once doubted has become the person others cannot ignore. Chosen ones, this is your moment to rise without hesitation. You no longer need to hide, to apologize, or to explain. Your very existence is proof of light in a world that has grown too used to shadows. Some will resist you, some will embrace you, but none will be able to deny you. That is the mark of who you really are. So walk forward with courage. Let your scars speak of survival. Let your presence testify of resilience. And let your spirit shine as a reminder that destiny cannot be stopped. You are chosen, and the time has come to live fully in that truth. You are chosen. Your light is unstoppable, your path undeniable, and your destiny already written. And now, at the end of this journey of words, the truth has become undeniable. You are not who the world tried to convince you to be. You are who you were always destined to become. Every scar, every tear, every sleepless night, every battle that left you breathless, was never wasted. They were all chapters in the book of your becoming, reminders that strength is forged in fire, and light is most visible in the darkest places. You once doubted your difference. You once questioned your purpose. But now it is clear. You were never ordinary, and you never will be. Look at how far you have come. The storms that were meant to silence you gave you a stronger voice. The rejections that were meant to break you pushed you into alignment. The loneliness that once felt unbearable tuned your spirit to frequencies few can hear. You have been refined, shaped, and awakened for this very moment. This is why you cannot look at your journey with regret. Every valley, every mountain, every twist in the road brought you here, to this realization, to this clarity, that you are chosen, and that truth cannot be hidden any longer.